Imagine trying to install a cutting-edge smart home artificial intelligence system while the concrete of your house's foundation is like still wet.
Right, yeah, that sounds impossible.
Exactly. And if you are an investor, a tech strategist, or a venture capitalist listening right now, you probably think of emerging markets primarily as digital consumers, just slowly climbing that traditional economic ladder.
Yeah, usually adopting tech a few years late.
Right. But what if a country decided to just drop a $1 billion tech fund, spin up a top 100 global supercomputer, and legally mandate artificial intelligence training for 1 million of its citizens all at the exact same time?
I mean, that represents a complete paradigm shift.
Yeah,
It is basically the definition of an infrastructural moonshot.
it really is.
We are looking at a market attempting this massive accelerated transformation to entirely rewrite its economic destiny in, well, a matter of years, not decades.
So, welcome to today's deep dive. We are opening up a really fascinating technological frontier today, which is Kazakhstan.
Yeah, it's a really interesting case study.
Our source material today is the brand new Kazakhstan AI Country Report. This just came out in January 2026, authored by Rise Research, Freedom Bank, and Astana Hub.
It's a very comprehensive stack of data.
It is. And our mission today is to uncover how this Central Asian nation is aggressively positioning itself to be a global innovator and exporter of artificial intelligence, not just a consumer.
Right, which is a huge distinction.
Exactly. We are going to break down the actionable takeaways for you, really extracting the mechanics of how a sovereign AI ecosystem is actually built from the ground up.
And to understand those mechanics, we really have to examine the macro context first.
Okay, set the stage for us.
So Kazakhstan is moving away from basic digitalization, simply moving government forms online, that kind of thing.
Like standard e-government stuff.
Exactly. They are moving to what they have officially termed a generative nation vision.
Generative nation, I like that branding. It's bold. And their stated economic target is to boost their gross domestic product by 0.5 to 2% annually, strictly through artificial intelligence over the next decade.
Okay, let's unpack this. That GDP target proves they are treating artificial intelligence as a macroeconomic lever, right? Not just a niche software sector.
Yeah, it's core economic policy for them now.
And the numbers attached to this vision are, frankly, incredibly aggressive. By 2030, they plan to expand data center capacity from 4,000 to 20,000 server racks.
That's a massive jump in physical infrastructure.
It is. And by 2029, the target is to push total IT exports to $5 billion, with a strict legal mandate that at least 10% of that must be pure AI exports.
Right.
Furthermore, they are pushing to launch up to 100 AI startups annually.
And to guarantee liquidity for that startup ecosystem, the state actually established a $1 billion target investment volume for a newly created fund of funds.
$1 billion is a lot of state backing. It is. And state-backed capital at that scale is designed specifically to signal to private markets that the ecosystem has a guaranteed baseline of financial support. It really lowers the perceived risk for early-stage founders.
But I mean, exporting AI services at that scale usually requires decades of compounding tech infrastructure,
Oh, absolutely.
If I can use an analogy here, it is one thing to discover a massive crude oil field. It is another entirely to say you are going to immediately start building complex refineries to export high-grade aviation fuel. Are they trying to run a marathon before learning to walk?
Well, if we connect this to the bigger picture, the leadership in Kazakhstan realizes that a country's global position in the 21st century depends directly on computational power.
Compute is the new oil.
Precisely. They view artificial intelligence as the most significant infrastructural project since the advent of the internet. If a nation fails to build foundational computing infrastructure today, its economy will be permanently relegated to paying rent to foreign tech monopolies.
Oh, that's a great point. You're just renting brainpower from someone else.
Exactly. Think about the balance of trade. If every business, hospital, and school in Kazakhstan relies on a Western AI model to function, the capital flight is continuous. They are paying a tax on every single cognitive task.
Wow. Yeah, a cognitive tax.
Right. Building sovereign infrastructure stops that capital hemorrhage.
But you cannot mandate a $5 billion tech export economy purely on paper.
No, you definitely can't.
Because the minute a local founder tries to build a complex AI agent, they hit a brick wall, which is the cost of compute. If you lack the physical silicon, the vision dies immediately.
The hardware is the bottleneck for everyone right now.
Right, which makes the hardware deployment the most critical piece of this whole puzzle. So let's talk about the iron and silicon.
Yeah, so in July 2025, the country launched Alam Cloud. It currently stands as Central Asia's most powerful supercomputer.
And it actually ranked on the global charts, didn't it?
It did. In November 2025, it ranked 86th globally on the TOP 500 list.
The detail from the report that stands out the most for me is that through a program called Quaz Compute, access to this massive computing power is provided completely free of charge to startups and universities.
Wait, really? Free?
Yeah, entirely free.
That single policy choice is a massive catalyst for innovation. Globally, the ultimate barrier to entry for deep tech development is the astronomical cost of renting server time from major cloud providers.
It burns through startup capital so fast.
Exactly. By democratizing access to a top 100 supercomputer, the government is absorbing the most expensive phase of research and development for local founders. It fundamentally lowers the barrier to entry for ambitious engineering.
So returning to our oil analogy, they're treating GPU clusters as sovereign infrastructure, identical to how nations protect their oil refineries.
That's a perfect way to look at it.
You do not let foreign entities control your physical fuel supply, and now you cannot let them control your computational power. And they're rapidly expanding that capacity too.
Right. There's more than just Elam.cloud.
Yeah. In October 2025, Kazakh Telecom launched AI Farabium, which features a dedicated NVIDIA AI factory.
Let's clarify that terminology for the tech strategists listening. An AI factory is structurally different from a traditional data center.
How so?
Well, a standard data center is built for serial processing, hosting websites, routing network traffic, storing emails.
The day-to-day internet plumbing.
Right. But an AI factory is architected specifically for parallel processing. It uses tens of thousands of GPUs firing simultaneously to train massive neural networks.
So it's built specifically for the heavy lifting.
Exactly. It allows for the full pipeline, from raw data ingestion all the way to the fine-tuning of large language models.
And the private sector is making equally aggressive moves here. Freedom Bank launched a $2 billion project in partnership with NVIDIA to establish a regional AI hub.
$2 billion from a single commercial bank is a massive capital allocation.
It really is.
Yeah.
Why is a bank leading the charge on this?
Because financial institutions sit on the most valuable, sensitive consumer data in any economy. Vertically integrating the compute infrastructure allows a bank to train proprietary models on that data without risking a leak to third-party foreign cloud providers.
So they keep it all in-house. Security.
Yes. It converts AI infrastructure from a sunk IT cost into a core revenue-generating business strategy. When a private bank commits $2 billion alongside NVIDIA, it signals to global markets that the infrastructure layer is maturing rapidly.
Okay, so we have the generative nation blueprint, and we have the physical refineries built with high-end GPUs.
The engine is built.
But an engine is completely useless without fuel, and in the AI ecosystem, data is the raw crude.
Right. Data is everything.
What is highly unusual here is that the primary entity organizing and utilizing this data right now is actually the Kazakh government.
Yeah, the public sector is acting as the prime mover for data integration.
Which is wild because government data historically suffers from being heavily siloed across different ministries, formatted inconsistently, and just generally inaccessible.
It's usually a nightmare to navigate.
Exactly. But Kazakhstan is solving this by establishing a national data exchange. They have also established a strategic partnership and a joint roadmap with the Shanghai Data Exchange.
Looking beyond their borders to figure out how to standardize and legally trade data on an international level is a massive step.
It really is.
And they are embedding the legal frameworks for this exchange directly into their national digital code.
That's smart.
Yeah.
Sure.
Beyond standard administrative records, government analytical units are actively deploying alternative data. They are feeding satellite imagery, mobile network patterns, and anonymized fiscal receipts into models to perform real-time demographic and behavioral forecasting for policy planning.
Okay, but if I am an enterprise software developer listening to this, I know firsthand how painfully slow government procurement is. Bureaucracies are bogged down by privacy red tape and legacy IT systems from, like, the 1990s.
Oh, for sure. It's usually a glacial pace.
So if the government is moving this fast to deploy AI, they cannot be building it all in-house. Are they basically turning the government into an open API platform for local startups to build on?
That is the exact mechanism driving their speed. They utilize a platform-centric model.
A platform-centric model? How does that work?
The state provides a unified infrastructure of shared data and secure tools. They call it the National AI Platform. Instead of a single, centralized IT department struggling to digitize every ministry simultaneously, individual agencies simply open up access.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, and then nimble local startups build and scale specific AI solutions on top of that shared infrastructure.
And the results of this platform approach are already live. 15 AI agents are currently being piloted across key government workflows right now.
That's a surprisingly high number for public sector pilots.
Yeah, we are seeing smart eligibility systems for social benefits, automated document processing, and complex workflow orchestration. And their near-term target is scaling up to over 50 deployed AI agents.
This shifts the paradigm from standard e-government to cognitive government.
Cognitive government, that's a great term.
And crucially, by piloting these tools in the public sector first, the government acts as a massive anchor client.
Which gives the startups cash flow.
Exactly. It gives those local startups guaranteed revenue and proven case studies, which they absolutely need to eventually export those software services to global enterprise markets.
Okay, so we have the hardware, the data, and the government contracts. But eventually, someone has to actually write the code. Someone has to maintain these neural networks.
You need the talent.
Right.
Yeah.
We have to examine the human capital pipeline because you can buy servers overnight, but you cannot instantly purchase a deep tech workforce.
Cultivating human capital is arguably the hardest variable to solve in this entire equation.
So what's their plan?
Well, Kazakhstan's stated target is to formally train 1 million people with AI skills by 2029.
1 million people. Think about your own university experience. Now imagine if 60% of all higher education institutions legally mandated artificial intelligence courses, regardless of your major.
That's exactly what they're doing. They have introduced a mandatory inter-university standard to integrate AI into all educational tracks.
That's huge.
Yeah. Their AI Sana initiative is aimed directly at this demographic, with the introductory stage alone targeting 650,000 university students across the country.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. They are not just relying on traditional universities, which, let's be honest, often struggle with outdated curriculums.
Very true.
They launched the Tomorrow School initiative, which is a peer-to-peer AI school.
Peer-to-peer coding schools are fascinating.
Yeah, for those unfamiliar, peer-to-peer coding schools eliminate traditional professors entirely. They operate on project-based learning where students evaluate each other's code against automated testing frameworks.
No lectures, just building.
Exactly. It forces students to learn rapid problem-solving and collaboration rather than just memorizing theoretical lectures.
It is a highly efficient mechanism to bypass the global shortage of qualified machine learning professors. Because finding enough experts to teach 1 million people is nearly impossible.
Exactly.
Simultaneously, while they scale basic literacy for the masses, they are funding specialized research at the apex of the market. The Institute of Smart Systems and Artificial Intelligence, or ISAE, operates out of Nazarbayev University with a strict mandate to develop indigenous AI models.
Which brings us to the release of KazLM and Shirkula. These are their localized large language models.
Yeah, indigenous models.
But if you are a global investor, you might wonder why is a country of this size spending millions to build its own model when OpenAI or Google already exist?
It comes down to cultural preservation and technological sovereignty. Global models are overwhelmingly trained on English text and Western cultural context.
They have a massive Western bias.
Exactly. They routinely fail to grasp regional nuances, local legal idioms, or the specific regulatory environments of Central Asia.
That makes sense.
If a Kazakh government agent or a domestic bank is relying on an AI to process sensitive legal documents, that AI must understand the Kazakh language natively and flawlessly.
Not just a translated approximation.
Right. ISAE has successfully built the largest repository of open-source codes, datasets, and models specifically tuned for Central Asia.
Okay, building proprietary models, training 1 million citizens, subsidizing supercomputers, it paints an incredibly bullish picture.
It does sound great on paper.
But if you are managing a global fund listening to this, you need the reality check. What are the structural gaps in this ecosystem?
The constraint is not at the entry level, it is at the apex. Enthusiasm and peer-to-peer schools cannot instantly produce a 10-year veteran in machine learning architecture.
Right, you can't fast-track 10 years of experience.
Exactly. There is a severe shortage of senior AI specialists, the late-stage data scientists and advanced researchers who actually know how to scale a prototype to serve millions of concurrent users.
So despite the massive grassroots training, if a local startup builds a great prototype using that free Alum Cloud supercomputer, they might just hit a wall
Yeah, a talent wall.
because they cannot hire the senior engineering talent required to deploy it commercially.
Advanced deep tech deployment frequently requires engaging foreign expertise, which is exceptionally expensive and highly competitive.
And what about broader R&D?
That's another issue. The broader research and development intensity in the country remains low. Total R&D spending is currently less than 1% of their gross domestic product. Cross-pollination between academic research centers and corporate industry is still in its really nascent stages.
We also hit capital constraints, right?
Yes, definitely.
The government is injecting a $1 billion fund of funds, but there is a massive, highly visible gap in venture capital funding for late-stage startups. The seed money is there, but the Series A checks, those $5 to $10 million growth rounds are largely missing.
This raises an important question. How does a mid-sized economy compete in the cutthroat global war for advanced compute investment and top-tier talent against the United States or China?
It's a David and Goliath situation.
It is. Kazakhstan is using its geography and a highly open regulatory framework as its primary leverage to attract that missing capital.
Let's distill exactly what this means for the different institutional listeners tuning in right now.
Okay, let's break it down by investor class.
If you are a venture capital fund, that Series A funding gap is your primary opportunity. You have a market where the state is heavily subsidizing early-stage risk, providing free compute, and acting as an anchor client.
They've done all the heavy lifting for the seed stage.
Exactly. Those startups are de-risked technologically, but they are starved for the capital needed to scale globally. That's where VCs can step in.
For corporate tech investors and global hardware manufacturers, the play is infrastructure. The mandate to build 10 new Tier 3 data centers and the aggressive expansion of NVIDIA AI factories means there is an immediate, high-volume demand for cooling systems, cybersecurity frameworks, and enterprise software to layer on top of the silicon.
Now, if you are a development finance institution, the structural shift from a commodity-heavy economy to a knowledge-based economy presents a massive mandate. That $1 billion fund of funds creates a structured avenue for sovereign-level co-investments to stabilize the region's tech sector.
And for global asset managers, the key is tracking the macroeconomic impact. Does this tech acceleration meaningfully diversify their GDP away from oil and gas?
Right, that's a long-term play.
Finally, for banks and fintech investors, Freedom Bank's $2 billion infrastructure play is the blueprint. The race is on to see which financial institutions can successfully vertically integrate their compute power to monetize their proprietary consumer data securely.
So what metrics should these investors actually be tracking to see if the foundation is curing properly?
There are 3 specific forward-looking signals to monitor over the next 12 to 18 months.
Okay, what's the first one?
First, evaluate the conversion rate of the AI Sana and Tomorrow School initiatives. Are those 650,000 students actually translating into hireable mid-level developers?
Right. Are they getting jobs? And the second?
Second, track the Shanghai Data Exchange Partnership. Can Kazakhstan successfully establish cross-border data monetization?
That will be a huge test. And the third signal?
Third, monitor the inflow of international venture capital. Do foreign funds begin crossing the border to fill that critical series of void?
So what does this all mean? Kazakhstan is aggressively attempting to skip the intermediate stages of economic development. They are treating artificial intelligence as foundational sovereign infrastructure.
They're writing a completely new playbook.
They really are. They are subsidizing the compute, centralizing the data frameworks, and legally mandating the talent pipeline. The next 12 to 24 months will definitively prove whether this massive top-down acceleration can outpace the organic, decentralized growth we saw in Silicon Valley.
And here's a final thought to leave you with. If Kazakhstan successfully scales Kazalem and Shirkala, creating sovereign AI models perfectly tuned to Central Asian culture, law, and trade, what happens when their AI agents start interacting with the sovereign models of China, Europe, or the Middle East?
Oh, wow.
We might soon be looking at an era of automated geopolitics, where artificial intelligence agents are directly negotiating trade deals and supply chain logistics across international borders, entirely without human intervention.
That completely redefines what diplomatic relations look like in the 21st century. Definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the Kazakhstan AI Country Report.
It's been a great discussion.
Subscribe to Deep Dive Central Asia for more analysis on emerging markets and investment trends shaping the region. Until next time.